This is the eHealth Radio Network, your source for health advice on demand. And now your host, Eric Michaels.
Thanks for joining us once again here on the eHealth Radio Network. This is your host, Eric Michaels. Research shows that female primary care physicians often provide superior preventive care and better patient care outcomes, including lower readmission and mortality rates than their male colleagues. Studies also show female physicians are often underrepresented and underpaid in our healthcare system. To combat this, Agilon Health, the company that empowers physicians to transform health in their communities, has created the Women's Physician Leadership Council, an organization of female physicians from all over the country who are helping to break the glass ceiling for female physicians nationwide. Here today to talk to us more about this, we are speaking with two of the founding members of the Women's Physician Leadership Council, Dr. Amanda Williams, a family physician and medical director at Physicians Group of Southeastern Ohio, and Dr. Victoria DiGennaro, a family medicine physician at Pioneer Physicians. And Dr. Williams and Dr. DiGennaro, thanks so much for joining us here today on eHealth Radio.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you. We're excited.
Certainly appreciate the both of you taking a moment to be with us here today. Looking forward to hearing and learning a few things from you per your expertise. So, Dr. Williams, to kick things off, what do you believe are the top challenges and opportunities facing female primary care physicians today? Let's start there.
Unfortunately, I find that there are many challenges for female physicians, the first of which is the gender wage gap. So, Doximity released a report for 2021 where the gender wage gap was reported to be 28%, where on average, female physicians make $122,000 less than their male counterparts. And if you extrapolate this over a career, it's over $2 million. And to be clear here, we are comparing apples to apples. There's also sexual harassment. Over 50% of female medical students experience sexual harassment before they graduate medical school. There's explicit and implicit bias. I can have a male medical student rotating with me, and we'll go in the room, and the patient will identify him as the doctor and me as his nurse. There's lack of leadership. Even though women make up over 50% of medical schools, we don't see that in leadership. So we make up only 3% of healthcare CMOs, 6% of department chairs, 9% of division chiefs. And then another big one is burnout. So 40% of female physicians go part-time or leave medicine altogether within 6 years of completion of their residency.
Well, that certainly is some eye-opening information to get things underway today for sure. Now, Dr. DiGennaro, what can be done to address those challenges mentioned, and what can women in healthcare do about this?
There's a lot that can be done to address the challenges, and one of the reasons that Dr. Williams and myself, as well as two other physicians, Dr. Chris Oakes and Dr. Liam Fry, we came together to create the Agilon Health Women Physicians Leadership Council to address these issues. And the primary vehicle that we have found that can be helpful in addressing this is value-based care. And that's where we're switching the focus from the more you do to a patient, the more you get reimbursed, to trying to provide the most holistic, comprehensive care, right level of care for the right patient. And in doing that, it makes better care for your patients, but it also makes the lives of physicians better and more rewarding. So I think that has been our primary focus, and we're using that as our vehicle to address these concerns.
Now, I'd be curious, and also I'm sure the listeners would as well, why did the two of you decide to join forces with Agilon Health specifically to create the Women's Physician Leadership Council? To get into some of those details.
I will tell you from my perspective, it was, coming to a bunch of meetings as we went to different things for Agilon and within my own organization, being the only woman at the table and realizing that we need to have a voice, we need to have a seat at that table, and making that known. So in doing all of these things, I've met like-minded people, and it was so refreshing and exciting to know that others felt the same way and that we could, affect change for that.
Yep, I would echo everything Dr. DiGennaro just said. She's heard me say before, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So we want to be at the table. And then I know she's also heard me say a lot before. My number one why as to why I do this is because of my daughter and my sons. Really, I've got one daughter two boys. My daughter is now 4, but ever since she was 3, she said she wants to be a mommy doctor when she grows up. And it just drives me so much because I believe what we're doing today is making a difference for women physicians in the future.
Now, speaking of the council, what is the council and what are some of its initiatives and or goals in addressing gender parity?
Our council is created amongst all the agilon practices. This is across the country. So we have a lot of different representation. I believe we are up to 30 women physicians as well as some administrative people that have come together to, address these issues. One major thing that we're trying to do right now is increase representation. So we have certain goals around making sure that women are in the right leadership positions and represented. When we go out to new markets, we start talking about that from the very beginning so that we can make sure that they're thinking of this. Do you have women that would be a good person to be in a leadership capacity and whatever that looks like within your organization? So that's been our first objective. And I'll let Dr. Williams get into some of the others here.
Yeah, that's a really good one. The leadership's such a big deal internally and externally. Dr. DiGennaro says often females won't apply for a job unless they feel 100% qualified versus males at 60%. So as a woman physician, I always try to remember that. So if I feel, you know, just like men, at least 60% qualified, I try to go for it. Because another thing I like to say, if you can't see me, you can't be me. And we need more women in leadership so other women physicians can feel like they can do that too. Another huge thing is the compensation model. So the value-based care, it is set up for women physicians. We're so good with preventive health care, psychosocial counseling. We provide lower readmission rates. And if you do your compensation model based on MLR, which is ideally what we're moving to with value-based care, we're going to help close that gender wage gap. I'd say another big thing we're doing is just providing awareness around these issues. A lot of people don't even realize. I know I didn't really realize it until a few years ago. And once, it was opened up to my eyes, I'm just, astounded with all the different issues that women physicians have to face.
A lot of this information most do not know about or hear about, and so we're certainly appreciative of your both taking the time, not only for what you do in this space, but for addressing these right here on this program, these issues. Now, explain the value-based care model that you practice with Agilon Health and how or if this has an impact on providing more opportunities for female physicians.
Yeah, I'd say it provides more opportunities because it's set up so well for women. So, for example, something we struggle with is the work home life balance. And with value based care, it's really pushing more towards quality care versus the old school fee for service model where it's, the quantity of patients that you see. And again, because we're so good at that side of things, it allows us to have a more appropriate schedule where we can get home at night to see our kids and do well.
I would echo that, and I would say that this is the direction that all of healthcare should be headed. We really believe this is the best level of healthcare out there. So our other co-founder, I always say, Chris Oakes, she has said that, you've been so busy on that squeaky hamster wheel. You're just, seeing patients, doing as much as you can. It's so loud. You don't know what else is going on, that you just become inundated with that. So it's also an issue of burnout that we've already alluded to. And so by doing value-based care, I see less patients in a day. I can spend more time with those patients so I could provide them with the care that they need. And it also allows me to get all of my work done here in the office so that when I go home, I can make it to my children's swim class or taekwondo class and not feel burdened that did I forget something. I know my patients are getting the best level of care and doing so in a more humane way for doctors, truthfully.
I, too, am a firm believer in value-based care and really good information so far. Today, we're speaking with two of the founding members of the Women's Physician Leadership Council, Dr. Amanda Williams, a family physician and medical director at Physicians Group of Southeastern Ohio, and also Dr. Victoria DiGennaro, a family medicine physician at Pioneers Physicians here on eHealth Radio's Healthcare and Health News channels, a part of the eHealth Radio Network. Now, why is it so important that more female physicians assume leadership roles within their practice and in their communities? Talk to us about that and your thoughts there.
So, the NIH has shown that when women advance in medicine, women's health improves. So, not only is it the right thing to do to treat women equally and equitably, but it's the best thing to do for our patient population. And again, I go back to my if you can't see me, you can't be me. And if we're not at the table, we're on the menu.
And we have research to support this. There have been studies that look at the leadership styles between men and women, and it's just different what men and women focus on. And it's not to say men are wrong, but women tend to be more outcomes driven. That's one of their top 3 priorities when they're looking at leadership, and really outcomes is the name of the game in value-based care. So I think that we need to get more women into that spot because it could change the overall direction of how the leadership style is going. And I also think that's valuable to maybe teach some of that to our male counterparts. It's not an us versus them issue. It's really about how we can all rise together to provide better care for our patients.
It totally makes sense, and it certainly should be all about the patient and the patient's top quality care. Now, what are some of the reasons there is a high burnout rate among women in healthcare?
I can't say that it's the case for everybody, but in general, women tend to have a lot going on. We're physicians, we're moms, we're wives. I am very blessed that I have an awesome husband, and honestly, I could not do all that I do without him. But it's still an overwhelming burden to try to be good at all of those things and accomplish all of those things. And it's always going to be this struggle of my professional life versus my personal life. And we need to find ways to make that so that it's not a struggle. It's not that I'm better at one right now, so the other is suffering. And that's really why I think we need to come together for these goals. And it's not just women. I mean, men are much more involved now, and they may have the same challenges too. So it's a parent issue. It's an all-around issue that we need to address.
Well, certainly have appreciated both of you joining us here today and addressing things that, again, most do not know about. And great to address these, and we really can't get enough information on this topic as well. As we conclude today, what is the top piece of advice that you would give to the next generation of female physicians considering primary care?
I would say you can do this. It's incredibly hard. I won't lie. Becoming a doctor is hard, and it's especially hard as a female physician. But we need you. We need those women at the table so that we can continue to fight this battle and win the war.
Yeah, just believe in yourself. Know that it's going to be a challenging road no matter what, but we're out there. Your support is out there, and we can do this together.
Thank you both for those concluding remarks, and we really appreciate the message here today. Where can listeners get more information on your practices as well as Agilon Health?
I would say visit Agilon Health's website, and that's AGILON.
And that's easy enough. And we'll leave that link and other links within the show notes of this broadcast for the listening audience and their convenience. Again, doctors, all the best, and thanks so much for joining us here today on eHealth Radio.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you're both certainly welcome. We've been speaking with 2 of the founding members of the Women's Physician Leadership Council, Dr. Amanda Williams, a family physician and medical director at Physicians Group of Southeastern Ohio, and Dr. Victoria DiGennaro, a family medicine physician at Pioneer Physicians. And for all the details, visit agilonhealth.com. And again, this has been your host, Eric Michaels, and we do thank you for your continued support of the eHealth Radio Network. Join us again soon for another episode that will help further expand your knowledge on those things that are important to your health and wellness. For more eHealth Radio reports, we invite you to visit our main radio channel site at eHealthRadioNetwork.com. And as always, we do thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in to the eHealth Radio Network. For more information or to subscribe to this podcast, visit eHealthRadioNetwork.com.